Hello and welcome to another edition of For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. My guest today is Fred Markowich. He is from Guardian Pest Control, and oddly enough, he is here to talk about pests. And we'll talk about that with you when we come back, so stay with us. Welcome back to For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. My guest today, a first-timer on the show, Fred Markowich. He is from Guardian Pest Control. And first of all, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And we're going to talk about pests. You know, I don't know if this is a time of year that, I think it should be. It is a time of year that people should be concerned about things like, for example, ticks. We'll get into that. But pest control covers such a wide gamut. So maybe just like sort of a general overview of what you do.
Yeah, in pest control, basically you're talking about carpenter ants, ticks, fleas, mosquitoes, termites. You could get up to as far as birds, raccoons, skunks, bees, wasps, carpenter bees. There's anything that's going to either pose a threat to somebody or to somebody's property, or is basically an annoyance is what we take care of.
Right. Some people, when they might think of pest control, they might think strictly insects, but as you mentioned, it can go up to the the critter level, the small, kind of wild animal level.
Not only that, even, I mean, you've seen in the news lately bird hits with these planes.
Yes.
It's a big business to get rid of the geese or whatever the bird is.
Geese
species.
are everywhere, by the way.
Right, but especially in the airports, and they use either dogs or sounding devices to try to get them away because obviously it could
bad things
pose
can happen.
real bad.
So first thing, when I got to get this out of the way because it was a joke that you told me off the air. You work for pest control. So what's the number one question that people ask you all the time? And it's a joke question.
Yeah, 9 times out of 10 when I'm standing in a checkout and they see my logo and say, "Oh, you do pest control? I have an old man at home that I need to get rid of, or I have a wife at home." And our answer always is not again in our head, but our answer out loud is, we can do it, but it costs a lot more money. So
and that joke is only funny so many times. I don't know how many times you can laugh at that joke. But then once you get past that, and they actually do require your business. As we speak, and today, these days, what is the most common problem that people have?
Common problem in this area, ticks are, the population is huge this year due to the warm winter that we had. Mosquitoes, carpenter ants. For instance, carpenter ants, as you remember back in October, we had all the trees fall down because of the snow. Well, the carpenter ants live in the trees.
So they're out.
And what happens when a tree falls down and there's a nest in there, they recognize that there's danger, problem. They pick up the eggs, they follow the queen, and they go running away from that tree that just fell down. Because they don't know it's not going to happen again.
But they're looking for a new home, right?
So if they're running away and your house is next to that tree or in the way, that's their new home. So a lot of problems with carpenter ants because of that. A lot of problems with, as I said, ticks and mosquitoes because of such a warm winter. Most bugs have an antifreeze in their blood system, which allows them to last winter, cold weather, up in this area. Because we had such a warm winter, the majority of the insects survived. If you have a very cold winter with not a lot of snow cover, a lot of the insects will die, even with this antifreeze in their blood system.
It's just too cold.
It's just too cold. They can't survive that. Snow cover is good because it's like a blanket, keeps them warm. So we had warm weather, no snow cover, a lot of moisture, and now we're going to have a lot of bugs.
Doesn't that mean good business for you?
And that's why I'm smiling.
So we talked about ants for a minute. Let's big concern of people. Lyme disease comes up. So let's talk ticks. People have pets. People live out in the woods. But there are some misconceptions, and not every single tick has Lyme disease, right? Talk about that a little bit.
There's a few different type of ticks in this area. You have dog ticks. You have deer ticks. Deer tick is the Lyme disease carrier. Originally, it grows up on a mouse and then goes on to a deer.
So your dog ticks don't have Lyme disease? You don't have to worry about that?
No, it's the deer tick.
Okay.
Now the deer tick is the smallest tick in the area. It's a tiny, tiny tick. And then your dog tick is a much bigger tick that most people will see in their animals. The best thing you can possibly do for ticks is, number one, get your animal treated with either the program, the stuff they put on the back of the neck, because a tick has to be embedded in you for a certain amount of time, 24 hours or longer, to pass on the Lyme disease. In this product, those products that the vet gives you will prevent them from doing that. So even though the tick may be on the animal, it doesn't mean the animal has Lyme disease immediately.
But they can get it the way a human gets it, right?
Correct.
But you can't spot it on them as easy because it's all fur or hair, right?
Right, and that's why you need to have the animal treated. And just if you go out, either put a repellent on, something like an off that has DEET in it, which will help, and the tick won't want to stay on you. And then check yourself when you come back in.
And when you get called in for a tick problem, it must be pretty severe then, right?
It's not that it's severe. We do a lot of tick and mosquito work because people just don't want to take the chance. So we'll go in there with something like, it's a backpack misting machine is what it's called. It's like Ghostbusters.
So you're going in there instead of
and we mist the area where the ticks and mosquitoes hang out. It kills them on contact. It doesn't last in the environment, so it's not like you can't go back outside. Once it dries, you can go back outside, and there's no precautions, there's no smell. But it gives the people that peace of mind where they're not pulling ticks off of their dogs or their family every time they come inside, because it actually eliminates them in their yard. Not going to help if the dog goes running across the street into the neighbor's yard. They'll still get that. And it also kills the mosquitoes, which, with West Nile.
Right, another disease.
Man. Yeah, along with, Triple E and dengue fever and all those other ones.
Good Lord.
Mosquitoes are getting to the point where they're getting just as bad. And with the weather we've been having for the last, rain for the last 3 weeks, and it's going to get bad real quick.
Let's talk about another insect where the story, and we talked about this, the media really overhyped it, in your opinion, and that is bed bugs.
It's not that they overhyped it. It is a fact. It is occurring, and they are out there. And
is it a growing problem?
Yes, it's a growing problem, but with the education to the public by the media and by a lot of different other resources.
You pointed at me when you said that.
Right. We're getting a little better control. Some of the best things you can do is when you travel, when you get into your room, before you put anything away, your clothes in the drawer or jump on the bed or whatever, if you have kids, that's going to be hard not to do right off the bat. Open the drawers, get a little flashlight, bring it with you, and just take a look up under the drawers, pull the cabinets out of the drawer, look up underneath. You'll see them.
Oh, you can see them. They're not too small?
They're not too small. Best thing to do is Google it.
Okay.
You'll see a picture of it, and they'll have a picture next to a pen or a
they look like aliens because they really zoom the size up.
Right, exactly. So you'll get a good idea what they look like, and then you're going to want to go around take the bed sheets off and go around the tufts of the mattresses, up underneath the bed box spring, around the headboard. You're going to want to check around there. You do that, it's going to take you 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes at the most. You're good. You're safe.
Are you talking about when you go into a hotel room, you look in those spots too?
That's when you're traveling, when you go into those areas. They're saying you can't go to the movies without getting them now, and that's
a little ridiculous.
Yeah, that's a little crazy.
And in your own home, some common sense things, clean your sheets, throw them in the laundry. How about flipping the mattress, things like that? Doesn't do nothing.
You're not going to get bed bugs from outside.
Okay.
Doesn't happen. They're not an outdoor pest. They live with us. So unless you're having guests coming over,
right,
or you just traveled, you traveled and you just came back and you brought your suitcases in, that's how you get them. You're not going to get them just because you thought they came in from outside. Doesn't happen.
And then what do you do when you come in if that's the pest that you need to work on?
There's a lot of different ways depending on the sensitivity of the area, but there's steam machines that can use. There's heat machines that can be used. There's safe pesticides out there. Just because something's labeled pesticide doesn't mean
that it's going to kill you.
We're going to Everything underneath your kitchen sink is stronger than anything we use.
Right.
Everything that we use is regulated by the EPA and the DEP.
Is most of it safe for pets?
Yeah. Most of it is labeled to be sprayed on the carpet to kill fleas.
Yeah.
and then left there, knowing that everybody comes and plays.
All right, let's jump to fleas then. Let's talk about that.
Okay.
Lots of people have pets. Is that the number one way you get fleas, through your pets?
Yes, yeah. That's probably there's maybe some strange exceptions, but that is the way you get them, is the pet bringing them in from the outside. And fleas can be, they can really overtake your home.
Really?
Make it miserable.
Where you have to, some people will bomb the place, like they call it, right?
Right, yeah. They put those bombs don't penetrate enough to get to the areas where all the ticks or the eggs, the bombs aren't going to penetrate the egg capsules anyways.
Right.
So what we have to do is put down something that's going to kill the adults immediately, and then something that's going to be left there as a residual for when the eggs hatch will be exposed to it, and something that stops the eggs or the adults from reproducing again. So it's pest control is not, it's knowing the insect. Anybody can get the pesticides.
Right.
But unless you know your enemy and what to do and in their behavior, it means nothing.
We're going to take a break. There's more pests I want to get to and more about what you do. I know you're passionate about it. You off the air we talked. You don't hear this from many people. You said you could talk all day about pests because it just fascinates you.
Yes,
doesn't it?
Bugs are the coolest thing in the world.
You got a website people can go to and learn more about your place?
Yep, guardian-pest.com is the website.
All right, go there and check it out. We'll take a short break and come back. Fred Markowich is the Guardian Pest Control guy. Are you the owner of the place?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so go to the website, check it out. We've got more to get to when we come back. I'm Sean Murphy. This is For the Record. Stay with us. Welcome back to For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. My guest today is Fred Markowich. He is he's the owner of Guardian Pest Control, and we've just been talking about pests and just one right after the other. I want to keep going because I know people are fascinated with some of these. Let's talk termites next because that's it's funny when you see the pest control commercials on TV for a lot of the places. Termites is like their big thing that you should be concerned about. They use that as their target pest for some reason, as if it's like just eating every piece of wood in your house.
Yeah, they do eat wood for food. They actually ingest it. It doesn't happen overnight. It's not like a science fiction movie where you come home and open the door and the house shows
just drops
It
down.
doesn't happen like that.
Yeah.
An average termite nest, first of all, termites are tiny. Small little.
Real tiny.
Yeah, they look like maggots with legs. But there's 1 million in a nest. So,
and they
it's the number that does it. And they continue going up and down from the soil. They live in the ground like an ant farm. It's not like a bee's nest. So it's spread out and it's got tunnels here and there and it's got chambers here and there. So, and they're constantly foraging, looking for food, and they bump into a house, which is made of wood. And they climb up and say, okay, guys, I got more food here. Let's eat. And they start eating. So they eat, as I said, they do eat the wood for food, and they can do. I've been in houses that I've been afraid of being in. Yeah,
wow.
That it was that much damage, but over a long period of time.
Right.
Nowadays, we have materials that actually eliminate the nest.
Okay.
What we used to do, the old chloridane days, is put a barrier around the outside of the house. Termites are out here. They bump into it. They either die or they figure out it's not a good thing to do.
And they leave. Yeah.
And then chase it to the next house, which is great for business.
You keep pushing them around.
But bad for the house because the barrier would wear away. They find their way back in.
Right.
Now, technology, we have stuff that's 100% safer. The termites walk over it. They get it on them. It doesn't kill them right away. Bring it back to the nest. The way termites communicate is by touching each other, and they also feed each other. And they pass it on to each other, and it actually kills the nest. Bad for business, but good for the homeowner because it's really a kind of a no-brainer nowadays. And they're gone.
Advancements in technology often, make certain jobs obsolete after a while. Their factories have robots instead of human beings now, and technology in your business kind of advances it. So maybe you don't need to go to a particular house because they used a certain kind of wood that just, is resistant to termites, right?
Sure, they have pressure-treated wood. They have borate insulation that can be used. Unless they get the price down because you can't build a house with pressure-treated wood because you're better off having termite treatments every year than
paying for that.
Paying for that. Another case in point would be roaches and the resistance to a lot of the chemicals we use.
Well, let's talk about roaches in general for a second, because that's a biggie because of the stigma involved with them. Automatically, you're thought of as, a little less than sanitary if roaches are in your house, which isn't always the case, right?
Yes and no. Roaches thrive in certain conditions. So there has to be food, there has to be shelter, there has to be more warmth and moisture. So if you have a very clean house and you get 2 roaches in there, it'll take them a while because they reproduce according to their environment.
But isn't it true that if you see a couple, there's a lot more
yeah,
behind the scenes?
I mean, unless you just brought them in, or
Right.
a friend brought them in a book
Suitcase
bag
or
or something.
something,
Yeah, but if it's something you're seeing on a daily basis and you're only
Yeah.
seeing 2 every day,
Right.
there's more than 2 by far.
Right.
There are most common roach is the German roach, and that's the most prolific roach in most areas, actually. But it helps to be clean
Yeah.
to control. If you're not clean and there's food everywhere and there's grease and grime, and their population will explode.
Yeah, and that's not, people hate them, and I assume that you get a lot of business just from people looking to wipe them out.
Yeah, that's pest control, something called IPM, Integrated Pest Management. And with roaches, it's extremely important to have cooperation from the person living there.
Meaning pulling out all the drawers and everything?
Not only that, just
shelves?
making sure everything's clean.
Okay.
Caulking up areas where they might be hiding behind. We're only, with roaches especially, we're only as successful as the help we get from the homeowner. If they don't, and same with restaurants and commercial places. If they're not willing to clean, if they're not willing to help on their end, we'll knock them down, but we're
Yeah.
not going to get rid of them.
Yeah, and then they get angry, but they're not doing their job to try to help the situation.
Well, I
right?
could tell you stories.
Now, when you go in, depending on what you have to do, under normal circumstances, do the tenants need to clear out for a little while, depending on what you have to do? Or
No, once again, we have bombing for roaches or bombing for fleas or any type of bombing is really gone to the wayside. We just don't do it anymore because it never really worked anyways. We have baits out there now that we can put in areas that the roaches or whatever we're dealing with will take it and bring it back and actually work for you. So the roach that brings it back actually becomes an exterminator, and he brings it back to his family and starts wiping out his family unknowingly. So it's so safe nowadays. There's really no odor. The old.
you'll get cancer from this.
Yeah,
if
not
you,
only
you
that,
know.
the old picture of the guy coming in with the unbuttoned shirt and
Yeah.
cigar and the big can and
Yeah.
dripping all over while he's walking in. I mean, there probably is still some of that out
Yeah.
there, but it's really an education on the insect. It's not the pesticide that we need.
At the start of the show, we talked about pest control not being just about insects. It's also, four-legged critters, wild little critters, and, things that you have to deal with. Like, for example, we were talking, let's say you have a garden and rabbits are running rampant in your garden. What if you don't want to hurt them or anything, but you just want them to shoo? Can you do something in that case?
We cannot do anything for rabbits.
Okay.
You can probably have a heart trap and relocate them is probably the
But there are
easiest
some
way.
critters that you do deal with, though, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of bats in. Bats are good.
They eat a lot of insects,
a
right?
single brown bat will eat at least 1,000 mosquitoes a night,
Wow.
which is a lot.
Yeah.
So we don't kill bats. What we do is we exclude them, so they're allowed to fly out of the attic, but they can't get back in.
Okay.
Except for this time of year, they have babies. We have to let them roost and
Right.
then move out. Same thing. There's a lot of, which people don't know, flying squirrels in Connecticut. Tons of them. But they're a nocturnal squirrel. So
Yeah, people see the squirrels in the daytime, but that's
right.
not the
But
same
the
thing.
nocturnals, they're smaller. They have these big eyes, and they come out at nighttime, and that's when they're out and playing around and eating. So unless you have them in your attic, because if you do, it sounds like there's 7 or 8 10-year-olds up there, because it's loud.
around.
In their early morning and early evening is when they become active, because they're getting ready to go outside, or they just came back in from outside. But it's a huge population in Connecticut, and they're really kind of a really cool critter, because they live in like colonies, and there's 10 of them, 20, 30 of them, and there you go up in an attic and they all go, almost like
like
see
you're
who
popping
we are.
their head up.
Yeah, so we do the same thing with them. We just exclude them. They go running out and they can't get back in.
I want to talk a little bit more about the mild winter we had, because it really did affect, I guess you could say, the ecosystem in a way that caused, like, for example, not being a harsh winter meant a lot of animals didn't die, and so that meant there were a lot more, and maybe they were starving, and it just affects everything from the next season over, spring into summer and things of that. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, if you think about, well, like we said, the ticks and the ants and the mosquitoes, everything survived, not everything, but the majority of them survived more than they would have in a cold winter, which will also, you think of other animals that feed on these insects. Right. So if you have an abundance of food, then they're going to reproduce quicker, and they're going to, and then who eats those, and so on and so forth. So there's just tons of different cases of that occurring. Another very interesting insect that survived, carpenter bees. Looks like a big bumblebee, but with a shiny abdomen. And bumblebee has a furry one. They make a perfect half-inch hole. Looks like somebody took a drill and went, and it's perfect half-inch hole. And she lays her eggs in the canals of that hole.
What, like a tree or something? Or?
No, in your house.
Oh, in your house. Oof.
Usually on the fascia, up around the eaves,
okay.
on the rake boards, and you'll see them, and they hover. The male hovers above, right around where the female is, up around and he'll dive bomb you and come after you when you come too close.
Okay.
He has no stinger.
Oh. Okay.
So he's not going to hurt you.
Okay. He just wants to chase you away.
He just wants. The female does, but you rarely see them. And that's another insect that did really well over the winter, bees and wasps.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you to touch on that a little bit. The aggressive, is it the yellow jacket, the wasp, that's way more aggressive? You see them hanging around garbage cans or whatever, and they seem aggressive. The bees, not so much, but these guys will go after you.
Yeah, especially hornets.
Yeah, hornets.
White-faced hornets. We're afraid of white-faced hornets. Number one, they'll sit outside the nest, and there's guards outside the nest. So when they see you walking close by, they get ready to jump, and you may not even know they're there.
Right.
You can't outrun them.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no way to outrun them, and they attack you by a swarm of them. They just come right after you. So it is something you have to be real careful with, because they are so
dangerous.
aggressive.
Yeah, they're
very aggressive. And as I said, they scare us, and they also do sense fear. When I'm training my technicians, I say you have to go up to a yellow jacket nest. The way you need to do it is almost whistling, nonchalantly.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Otherwise,
instead of going up like this, they sense that, and you will get stung immediately.
We are out of time, unfortunately. But I can't let you go without 10 seconds on snakes. Talk about snakes.
Snakes are good. They eat other insects. Same with spiders. They eat other insects.
We didn't talk about spiders either.
Yeah, we don't do snakes. There's not a lot you can do for snakes other than going and removing the stake. And by the time we get there, it's usually gone already. We can't find it.
Right.
So when somebody calls and we said, well, can you see it? Well, no, but I know it's down in the basement.
Good luck.
Yeah, good luck, because there's not a lot we can do.
One more time on the website.
Guardian-Pest.com.
Fred Markowich, Guardian Pest Control, thanks so much for being on the show.
My pleasure.
Thanks for joining us for another edition of For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. See you next time. Take care.